Brandon, we're adding just that, we're submitting the art grant application.
Okay.
And we have a resolution just committing a 25% match, which we do have budgeted for.
Okay.
But we wanna make sure that the council's aware, we're budgeting for this, we need to submit to the funding. I think, I'll let him explain it if he needs.
Brand.
Like the bird.
Huh?
Looks like you just
Yeah.
like the bird.
Yeah, well, I didn't see him, but yeah, a couple days ago.
We're gonna talk about, Jared's gonna bring up and finalize all that.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
I added it on the bottom there. I'm gonna have you walk through the, explaining it.
This
The
part,
resolution
sure.
and what we need with the council committee into the funds, and then based on the budget we know, but if it's more, we'll have to readdress that.
Okay.
So that's the resolution I'll ask you to adopt, but I thought they might want some explanation since it's coming late.
Sure, right.
So I'll just, and I can help, but I thought, you're probably the most well-versed
Yep.
process.
Yep.
And then I think I answered all the other questions. If I didn't,
Yeah.
let me know.
No, I feel good about the budget.
Okay.
Everything, all
Okay.
the math worked out. Everything seems good.
Yeah.
I looked at it compared to the last one we submitted, and
Okay.
it seems right. So I'm not too worried about it. Howdy. We should do, I mean, is there any option to do this outside?
That's what I was thinking.
Some of us work outside all day, so.
Yeah, so I suppose. Yeah. It's one of your nice ones. That's a fancy space pen.
Good. Okay. It's 5:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? If not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. If there's anyone like to come forward right now and speak, come up to the podium, state your name and address, give you a couple, 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Jesse Gerrits. I'm with Jim's Molax Disposal. I live at 16810 170th Street, Forston, Minnesota. And I just see you guys are talking about extending your contract with your current waste provider. And if you guys don't, I would really like a chance to bid on it. We're a family-owned and operated company out of Malacca. So I just I'd like to get a chance if you guys decide to open up for bidding again.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. We'll close that down. At this time, I'm going to close the meeting at 5:32 to conduct a public hearing to consider and adopt ordinance 478. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this matter?
Hi, Deborah Olson at 600 Dewey Street. I sent each of you an email addressing the new zoning ordinance in regards to the property size, and I don't see anything in the language that includes grandfathering in of the old property. Yes, I've heard that it's implied, but implied doesn't mean that it's in writing. And so the response I got back from Sarah, and I'll leave it to her to explain that response.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we do have legal nonconformities in the code. It's in section 10 of the zoning. Basically, nonconformings are a part of state statute. I can't remember the number off the top of my head.
462.357.
Thank you. So what we do when we do zoning updates, whenever there is a legal nonconformity, that's subject to section 10 of the zoning. We also date the codes each time we make an amendment on the bottom, and you'll see that. But essentially it falls back to state statute or that item that is within section 10 of the zoning. In actually this case, it will actually reduce the number of legal nonconformities because we are loosening our code. So more properties will be in compliance with our zoning requirements if you choose to adopt these changes. Because we basically are choosing to loosen up some of the restrictions that we have in place.
The concern that I still have, and many of my neighbors do, I'm one of the bigger property sizes in my area, and I'm 70 by 150. Most of them are 30 by 70, maybe 30 by 100. And so the concern is because of the new zoning ordinance, if they decide to do something on their property, are they going to get declined because their property size does not meet zoning requirements?
As I mentioned, that would be subject to state statutes. Legal nonconformities are subject to the state statutes and the number that the mayor represented or announced earlier. We don't have a determination over how that's handled. State statute is state statute on how legal nonconformities are handled. So we change the code all the time. That happens. That's why it falls back into state statute. We actually did go one extra step by codifying it in section 10 of the zoning, which covers the entire zoning. All I can say is that is how we are recommended to write and adopt our ordinances.
Right, and this is to allow for additional housing within the current property.
Yep. So basically what we did is we reduced the requirements. So what used to be a 10,000 square foot standard lot size, now we will allow the standard lot size to be 8,000 square feet for a single family home. We reduced some of the green space requirements. We're basically allowing for higher density housing to be constructed with these changes.
Right. So then, Deb, what's your concern with regards to allowing higher density housing?
Well, when you look at obtaining a permit, and so if the permit says that 30% needs to be green space, but yet it's already a lot size of 30 by 100, and your buildings are already taking up the majority, is that going to hinder them? Yes, that's in previous zoning, but yes, the other part is people are worried about the wording that the older properties will not be grandfathered into what they were allowed at when they built.
They have been grandfathered in, they will continue to be grandfathered in per Minnesota state statutes. That does not change. They have to follow statute when it comes to legal nonconformities. So they follow the process laid out by state statute. So, for example, somebody tears down their house, there's a 25% rule in state statute. They have to leave one wall if they want to rebuild in that same footprint. They're allowed to do that so long as they maintain that one wall. Those are all determined by the statutes. There is no change into the rights of the owners with this change. It still defaults back to state statute.
A lot of these changes were made for the, call it the southern development that we're looking at doing. So we can get better utilize the land that is available to us down there. Everything else in Foley is grandfathered in, according to the statute.
And I appreciate that. We also have it now on YouTube, so the residents will know.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak for or against this matter? Is there anyone else to speak for or against this matter? At this point, I'll close the public hearing at 6:37 and reconvene the regular meeting. Excuse me. Are we looking for a motion to consider this adoption? Yeah. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance 478.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Deb will second. Any further discussion on this?
Just with regards to the shipping container, Sarah, you clarified a little bit for me. This is only with regards to allowing for storage capacity with shipping containers, not allowing for them to be turned into tiny homes.
Could I answer that? The planning commission had quite a discussion about this. And the reason we went with that is because let's say when you close on a house, sometimes closing lasts a little bit longer than 3 months. We went with the recommendation to give them plenty of time to put their stuff in a house if the closing happened to go a little bit longer than what was previously recommended or foreseen was going to happen. It's not permanent by no means.
Perfect.
Is there any, is there any further discussion on this? Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 478. All four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. 7, discussion on garbage contract renewal. So before us, we got in our packet. So when does our contract end with them? I'm sorry.
June 30th,
June 30th this year.
correct.
And is it by bids, or are we just simply looking at going with Allied?
That's the question tonight. There is a one-time 5-year extension that you can do on the existing contract. Basically, same terms, same, annual increase moving forward. That's allowed one time per this contract. The garbage hauling provider wants to know if we wish to exercise that right to extend it for another 5 years. You have the option to do that. You also have the option to bid it. I can say we talked a little bit at a staff level. Service has been very, very good with this contract. We have been through this before and rebid and had issues with service and missed pickups, all sorts of issues. It's been much better with this contract. We have fortunately been able to avoid those really big increases like we've seen in other things that we've done at the city level because it's locked in on that 4%. It's completely up to the council how they wish to handle it. I would just make sure you understand we get, like the curbside cleanup is thrown in at no charge. Those are big, well-utilized services. The city provided dumpsters for various things are included. That saves a lot of cost when it comes to what we have to put on the property tax levy. You know, there's various things that this entity that we have now currently supports a lot of other community activities. You know, there's things that also need to be considered, but it's ultimately up to the council what they wish to do.
How long have we had this service?
5 years.
Well, that was 2019.
It's a 5-year contract. and
Oh, it's 2024, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know, was it prior to, and we had someone else prior to them?
We did.
When, how do I wanna say this? When do we have to give them a yes or no, or can we put this to bids?
If you put it to bids, you open everything up. So then even the current provider gets to redo all their numbers. So if you put it to bids, that's what, we have to go through the whole process again. The RFP, legal, all that. If you renew it, it basically just keeps rolling with the same terms.
And then after 5 years, it would go to bid.
Correct, yep.
If we wanted it to though, right?
There's typically only one 5-year extension, and I think that's just because of the volatility of the market and what can happen, but, then I would anticipate we would go to bids if you were to extend for sure at that point. I can tell you we've done that before a number of times. We've done the 5-year, we've extended, and then we've rebid. Like, we've done that before.
Have you, Mr. Garrett's, have you seen the pricing that was offered to us?
Yep.
For them?
Yep.
Okay. Is that something?
Yep.
Same, I mean, are you,
Close to the same numbers. Commercial, I would be a lot less than them. Residential would be real close to the same.
okay.
What about the citywide cleanup?
Well, if that's what you have in your contract, that's what I have to honor. So, I mean, that's the way they write the RFP. They wrote it like that last time. That was just part of the bid. You had to do that.
But part of my research, the office questioned why we were doing that. And that was a deciding factor on why we moved forward with, Rapid Service. Or Republic, I mean.
Yep, and it was just a question. So, but if it's in the RFP, that's the way it has to be. You know, if you have that in there, that's the way it has to be bid. So.
Well, it is, for what Republic has done from where we were, I sure like the customer service and I do like the service that we provide. The citywide cleanup is important to us, and also helping out, being able to help out the Boy Scouts with their fundraiser in the spring, that's also important. I'm happy with them. People I've talked to are happy with the service also.
Did we go to bid 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
How many bids? Do you
Two.
recall?
I wanna say 3.
3, yeah.
Was one of them just totally different? Is
I
that why I'm
believe.
thinking?
I bid it with everything in it, which that's what you asked for, tax, fees and everything. And they did not bid it that way. They bid it flat rate, and then they add the tax afterwards. That's why it looked so much different last time. And that's the way you asked for it, was with the tax and everything. That was the part that.
That does sound, yeah, that may be.
Everybody, that's the way all the
Yeah,
big
that may
companies
be.
do it. And then when they get to the contract writing, they always add all that stuff in, fees and service charges and things. And I had added it all in on my price with tax and fees and everything.
I think it was quite a long discussion,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So what is the council's wish? Do we wish to extend with the current provider, or do we wish to open it for bids?
Well, as I stated, the service has been, especially working with staff, the service has been outstanding. When there are issues, customer service is right there to help them. I'm happy with the 4% right now increase, that if we decide to go with Republic, it is a volatile industry, and it does need work, in my opinion. I'm okay with just staying with Republic for another 5 years.
I guess I can say I am satisfied with Republic. I've not had any issues at all with them. But at the same time, we've got this gentleman sitting in front of us, and he bid it the right way 5 years ago. I just don't know where to go, because I do like Republic. I've not had one single issues with him at all. They even get out of their truck and pick up when they drop something. Well, they do it in my house, Dad. Not at my house. Well.
Brandon, anything to say on this matter?
Well, I really appreciate you coming in and you know, requesting or at least asking for the thought. You know, I hate to make anything more expensive, and my fear of going to bid would be would be just that. However, at the same time, if we could possibly get similar same service for cheaper, I have no quarrel with that either. Yeah, I'm impartial. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for you coming here, I wouldn't have put even more than 2 cents into it.
I would like to see it bid, just for the simple fact that I know it'd be a lot of turnover for people. I pay online. I'd have to cancel all that and restart all that. But if you can come in at a better price, I think that's good for the residents of the city. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Right now, we're looking at a guaranteed 4% increase.
Correct.
We don't know.
Annual, right?
Annual.
That's every year for
Yep.
the 5 years?
Yeah, so we had that built into the contract, that was the inflation.
So is this spreadsheet
That's
available
accurate.
for the public to
Yeah,
look
that's in
at?
the public packet.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, and I think I have it all from the beginning, to show what it is, yeah. It's really hard to see, but it is in the public packet if somebody wants to zoom in on it. The one thing when we bid the last one, I'll just mention, recycling was very volatile at that point. It has settled down more. Because there was a transition of, we used to send a lot of our recycling to like China, and that's changed a bit. But that did stabilize as far as from our prior contract. That was a big concern when we had that last bid.
Well, if the council wishes to go with the current carrier, I'd entertain a motion for that, or if the council wishes to put it out for bids, we can make a decision at the next meeting so that it's done in April and not drag on any further.
That's fine. You could make the decision next month, that's fine.
So, but we'd have to open it, or they'll still
No.
honor that?
No, yeah, they'll still honor that. I mean, it's April 1st, but if we have our meeting April 2nd, Republic said that's fine.
Is that fair with you, sir?
Doesn't matter, I understand it's a lot of work for everybody to do this, so, but I just thought I'd come and ask and just see what happens.
Well,
You could also then make the decision when Member Swanson is back, when all 5 of you are there too.
true. So, we're just gonna table this till next meeting and,
That's
or
fine.
ask for bids?
No, we don't need to, we can wait till next meeting to decide. That's fine.
But should this gentleman come up with a bid package of any
No,
kind?
no, there's a whole process. I have to write it, I have to vet it with legal. There's a process. No, you
'Kay.
can't.
And you would still have time if we decided to go for bid at that point?
Yeah, it's not just you can snap your finger, do it. There's a process.
Okay.
We have to advertise, there's all sorts of things we have to
Is the
do.
council good with tabling until next meeting?
Do we need a motion on that?
No, you can just table it, that's fine.
Make a motion
Yeah,
to table it. I'll
please.
make the motion, we table it till next month.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you for your input. Department reports. Police, Katie McMillan.
Right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first I'll start with the stat report. In the month of February, we had 378 calls, and in January was 364, so you can see the increase. Last year, February 2023, it was 345. Some of the things that are increased are our driving conduct traffic stops and speed traffic stops. And our DARs and S's are up. That is driving after revocations or suspensions. So, AKA, people don't have a valid license. Gas drive-offs and thefts are down. Medicals were up. That is the majority of them. Reminder, winter parking is still in place until April 1st, or March 31st, April 1st. So, reminder, we have one more month of that. And then we had Fun with Police last month. We had 14 kids that came and toured the police department and had activities here. And then we had meals sponsored by the Foley Family Restaurant. And so it was a good turnout, and the kids had a lot of fun. Coming up on March 23rd is the Community Connect Expo at the high school gym from 9 until 12. And we will be there, myself and our school resource officer, Cody Pausch, will be there. And then I am been working on our bicycle rodeo. This will be our 10th bicycle rodeo. It will be June 15th at the Lions Park from 10 until 1 for ages 10 and under. So we've been busy working on that. Lots of data requests from our county attorney's office a lot lately, so it keeps me in the office getting those completed. Lots of reports to review with the increased numbers every report I review. So we've been busy and lots of training coming up. I have used the force training on Thursday, so lots of training this month and plugging away. But that is all I have, unless you have something for me.
Katie,
Yes.
I know your paperwork load is a lot higher. That means you're not on the road.
Mhm.
Do we have an officer on the road during the day?
I'm the one who gets called out. And so what
so you're not patrolling. So these numbers are that high
Mhm.
without a daytime officer,
If-
pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, what I do is I break up my day. I do office work, and then I go out, I come back, do some more office work, and go. So I break it up a lot. But yeah, I mean, there's not someone out.
Well, I'm glad you're trying to stay sane with the breakups, but that's a tough one to hear, that number with, I'll bet over 50% of your time is paperwork.
With a lot of our law enforcement is a lot of our reports we have to do and document everything.
Yeah. So kudos to you, but it's very concerning.
If you don't have anything else, I do have for the discussion on. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the SRO, it has passed all, and I get this mixed up all the time. It passed all the committees, and it was being seen by the House, correct? It voted on the House. It went through, right?
It went, when I was down at the Capitol on Thursday, it went through the House, it was come to the
Yep,
Senate yesterday. And then there was discussion there about they might have to tweak it and send it back to the House.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what the Senate was the next where it was gonna
Yep.
go, and that's last I heard. I haven't got any more updates from our Chiefs Association. But
I guess just for the public, that's the school resource officer, some of that legislation that was of concern. They're working on trying to fix those items.
yep, and a
That's
lot
what
of the things that they had put in the bill that they are requesting to have, we already do it all. So, and Officer Cody Pausch has gone to the training already. That is, they are wanting to put in place. So, I think we'll be okay. So, but
When do the new officers start?
Jerome Call is pretty much done with Bryce Lind with his background. I'm just waiting to hear back from his psych and physical that he had, yesterday he had one, and then last week. And then Dana, who is here with us tonight, He is getting his almost to the next steps of his psych and physical also. And then we had, Jerome has not started on Brett yet, so.
In the vehicles?
Vehicles, it's, the 21 squad is still in at Foley Collision getting repaired from the accident from last September. That is hopefully going to be done this week. But otherwise, the 19 and the spare squad are working fine. We are still putting oil into the 19, but
Okay.
so, yeah, they're working fine.
Are you doing the crime-free
Yep.
housing?
Yep, no, that's fine. The crime-free housing requirement, we do have a city ordinance that the landlords will be up on, have crime-free housing training. I used to teach it, or I taught 1 or 2 class back in 2013, so it's been a while, and I asked, my certification is still current. However, with a lot of time, we'll try to figure out a time if that's the way we want to go. There are classes, a lot of the landlords are finding it difficult to, because a lot of the classes are in the cities. So they're finding it difficult to go down there. There will be one coming up in Waite Park here in a couple months. So that's another option. There are some agencies that do an online version, but they have not shared their link with me, so I'm not quite sure how that goes. But I did, when we were cleaning out our back room, I did locate the binders that we did hand out to everyone. So another option we were thinking about is if the landlord can't make the trainings and we're not having one, then maybe they can sign out this book of information, read it, and then bring it back signing and say that they have read it and they sign off on it. Another option.
If I could, the reason I had brought this up to Chief McMillan is because I fielded a handful of complaints on the difficulty to take the all-day class and obtain the certification. And people are busy, it's hard to get away and to do that. And so there was a question, is there some alternative? We didn't prosecute the last few years because especially when COVID, like the trainings dropped off. There were no trainings being offered. Now they've started to pick up a few more trainings, but there's still not a lot of options that are close to us. And it's not very convenient to some people that have other jobs and, other things that they do. So that's why we were trying to brainstorm if there was an alternative way to still achieve some of those objectives of the program, but maybe make it easier on our landlords out there. If we were to prosecute, we'd probably be looking at over 20 people that are in need of this certification. So we have to discuss how do we want to address this. Do we want to find an alternative approach, or do we want to move forward and require them to take it? So that's why Chief McMillan and I were kind of brainstorming on what you think we should do.
Katie, could I borrow that and look through it? Because I don't know what all is covered in safe housing, and I know we have a marginal landlord in our neighborhood.
Yep, yeah, I have.
And I would like to be able to check it out.
Yep, definitely. I have several copies. I can gladly give you one. And
Okay,
it's just another option we're looking at to do. Having it in person is more beneficial, obviously, because you get more out of it. But if for the people that can't get away, is this another option of them checking it out? Because it's what we would go over in the class. So.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily need an answer. I just really, we should probably figure out what we're going to do in the next month or two. We'll still keep processing the rental license renewals, and we still let them know we technically, according to the ordinance, they need to have this certification. And then if you give it some thought and want to look at an alternative approach, we can do that.
Is that according to our ordinance?
Yeah, so the ordinance that you have, we do require the 8 hours of in-person training.
And how often?
They have to do it once and be done with it.
Just
It doesn't
once?
expire.
No, it
Right.
doesn't expire, and if they have it, like if they have several rental properties, like in St. Cloud and then here, they're still covered. It goes with that person.
So a landlord has to take the class one time.
Mm-hmm.
So the prosecutions that we're talking about are all first-time landlords then, essentially?
Yeah. People that, and some of them have had it for a few years, but we have not prosecuted since COVID.
Sure.
Yeah. We usually give them some time, you know, we try to give them a year to take it. It's kind of to the point now we have to decide what we wanna do.
And
wanna enforce
there's
it.
no, is there any minimum amount of units the landlord has to oversee? You know, is it just, even if
Everybody.
it's one unit?
1 unit, yep. So what we have happen is a lot of local people buy like maybe houses and then they turn them into rental properties. That's what we see a lot of. People that aren't necessarily, it's not the big landlords because they've had it or they have other locations. It's the local, smaller, you know, landlords that are more affected by this.
What's the penalty if A, they don't take it, and B, they're in violation over and over and over?
We have to submit them to prosecute in the court system.
And is that just a decision by who?
I would come, that's why I'm here. I haven't done that. I would come to you before I do that.
I mean, I guess I would like to see it either offered online, considering all the changes that have happened in the last few years. You can do just about everything online. So I guess that's what I would like to see. I don't think there's any reason anyone has to drive to another city or spend an entire day in another town for this. So that would be my first request, is how do we do this online or have online access? And or, you know, can we submit or check out the book and have them sign off that they did it? That's my 2 cents, I guess.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe until we can research that more,
Yep.
we won't prosecute or do anything at this point until we maybe find out some alternative options above and beyond having to go somewhere else.
So the chief and I can work on what that looks like and we'll come back with that option. Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Katie? Nope, thank you. City Engineer Jared Griffith.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A couple things on my list tonight. First off, we have our surveyors lined up for next week for that topo of the south side property that we kind of mentioned a little briefly earlier tonight at tonight's meeting. And then second on my list would be the water treatment plant tours. We have kind of our local tour scheduled for this Thursday. As of now, I don't think we have an official head count on who is all coming, so that'll be my first kind of question and request tonight, is to get a head count and make sure we have enough vehicle space and vehicles lined up for everybody for that tour. So
I'll be attending.
That was next.
that's this Thursday.
That's this
so
Thursday.
2 days
Yeah,
from
I was
now.
saying
It's 14th.
14th, yeah.
Huh? Our first one is scheduled at 8:30 in St. Joe. So we'll be leaving here about 7:50 or so.
You bring donuts?
You can bring whatever you want, yes.
I am not able to attend.
No?
And I think Gary can, or no, he can't that one.
Is he back from vacation?
Okay, that's right. Okay, yeah, I don't think it'll be just Jack and Jack, and then I think we'll have some more.
Okay, perfect.
So meet here or meet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meet here's just fine.
Yep.
And then also our kind of our Wisconsin tour. The date we originally had picked for that, there was a conference in Wisconsin that created a conflict, and the plant managers are all attending that conference, so obviously they can't kind of give us a tour. So we have kind of submitted a few different dates in April, based off conversation between Mark and myself. Looks like April 11th and 15th might work best, and the 16th. 11th, 15th, and 16th of April. So if your calendars, if you have your calendars available tonight, maybe we can get a head count for that and see. That'd be a kind of a full day. I don't know, we can either leave in the evening.
Well, the 16th is a Saturday, it's not that. Oh, wait, sorry.
I think it's
Sorry. Yeah, you're good.
yeah. Two options: either we can leave the night before, or we can leave the morning of early and get to there. You know, leave at like 5 5, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever time we need to, and go from that point. But the logistics of it can be decided at a later date. Just maybe get a head count on who would be interested in going to that Wisconsin
They
tour.
ask, where the three,
Ooh.
Was it
Mark,
in-
do you remember the cities? I do not.
Was it in the email?
Yeah.
Ladysmith is one.
I guess while we looked that up, do those dates work for those that would like to attend? Either the 11th, 15th, or 16th?
Nothing on a Friday, yeah?
Mark, is that right? It's the 11th, 15th, or 16th?
I prefer not the 15th.
Prefer not the 15th.
Not the 15th?
These are not.
Okay,
Okay.
so 11 or 16.
I can do either the 11th or the 16th, and I'm also just curious about where, because if it's close to a friend, I would bring myself there at my dime because I didn't visit friends.
I can make either. The 11th or the 16th.
I can also, 11th or the 16th.
I don't know yet.
No, not yet. Okay.
If it snows.
Yeah, that's when we'll get it.
Let's hope not.
And so the council knows, I am not going to attend that. It's in the middle of our audit, so and we have a couple other conflicts, so I'm gonna let, you guys and Mark and his staff attend.
You will find it. Well, I guess it sounds like we got majority of you at least available those days, so let's schedule one of those two, and we'll.
I could, it's just a matter of what's going on with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll bring both those days then to the plant managers, and then we'll kind of let them maybe decide on which day works best for them.
Okay.
Kind of go from there. Sound good?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's kind of all I got tonight, unless you have anything for me.
Public Works, Fire,
Dutch
Mark
maid.
Pappenfuss.
Dutch maid.
Dutch maid.
Okay.
Good evening. I don't have a lot. Bring up the power. As you guys know, the Excel's doing the work Saturday on that, so they plan on doing up to a 3-hour outage starting at 7 a.m. citywide. Everything from Norway north will be out. Working on the feeder line over by Sauk Rapids by that second roundabout, I think it is. So,
So wait, Norway North?
yeah,
So south is gonna still remain?
that's East Central. Yep.
Oh,
So Presbyterian churches, their funeral will be okay on Saturday morning.
okay.
So, yeah. So they're doing that, and then holiday decorations, we didn't include that in the packet, right?
No.
We're looking at getting some, we had brought up in January, I think I did, holiday decorations for the highway. There's some good prices on them now through March 31st through display sales. One of the two vendors we pretty much use. Looking at purchasing, we have 20 poles there. We'd buy 10 this year at a cost of, what I sent up there was like $5,200. They do have some other ones now on sale that, some are last year's. I was looking at the style, the white like Sauk Rapids has downtown. They do have some garland ones on sale too, and they're actually gonna be a little less than that. So we'll purchase 10 decorations this year, and next year after, we'll hopefully get the 10 more.
It's
Cost
below,
of up on about $5,500, we'll say.
yeah, it's below the capitalization threshold, so if it's budgeted, we have a spot for it. We can go ahead, we just wanna make sure you're aware we're doing that.
So it's all just, is it all LED stuff now?
Everything's LED. The, like I say, the one that she had wrote the quote was double bell, candy cane, and Christmas tree, and the other one, the garland ones they have now are Christmas tree, candy cane, and stocking. Trying to kind of keep it neutral,
Okay.
so we don't.
there a motion for that, or we just go ahead?
No.
Anything, go ahead.
Other than that, I don't have anything else going on, so I am good unless you have a question for me.
How are things running, operating, vehicles, fire?
Good. Knock on wood. I guess I'll say I don't think anything has been too, basic, on either department, I don't think anyone has had any too major expenses.
Have you been able to stay just busy still without having the snow?
Oh, yeah. We could stay busy till, this is great.
Good.
So, we are getting a lot of stuff done, odds and ends and things that you normally wouldn't, and we're gonna actually maybe start even jetting, if it stays nice in a month, we'll even start, that earlier, and, so. Definitely stuff we can, I do gotta find where I can put 7 loads of salt in my shed yet. That's my problem. Yeah, I'm contracted to buy 160 tons, so I didn't use, you won't see a deduct on your budget this year but it's next year, hopefully we can cut back a little bit on that, so.
So we bought salt in bulk for a better price, and we obviously haven't had to use a lot of it.
Yeah, but we're contracted
Oh, you're-
200, so it's either 160 to 240 you have to buy,
Okay.
so. we'll
You're
figure something
contracted,
out.
cause when you need it and you're not contracted, you can't get it.
Yeah.
And you pay out of the mill, so.
But we'll store it and we can use it next year.
Yeah, we can store it, but I just can't be so full that I already checked with the county and, I know.
We're full too,
They're full too.
so,
We'll make it work, we'll stack it high.
very good.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Administration, Sarah Brunn.
I'll just add one thing, we didn't have, Bolton and Mink out this, month because they didn't have a pay app, but I think they're planning on the contractor being back next month, from what Jared told me on the phone, and they've just been working on, some of those parts and stuff are coming in, but they should have a crew, I think, back in April is what Jared told me. Do you have anything to add?
We're gonna do a kickoff meeting April 2nd
Okay.
of the contractor, everybody. Design Electric has been doing a lot of work on components, what they can do, anything they can do, they've been trying, cause they got some big jobs coming up, so they've been here. I haven't seen them the last 2 weeks. I talked to, the automated, whatever the name is, doing all the SCADA system at school last week, and they're still, it's coming, but it's coming slow, the stuff is. So I don't have an update on that, but.
Thanks for serving breakfast the other day. It was in the paper today as well, so that was great to see.
Kids like everybody coming to see them, so I think we all like to do it.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll move on to my report. So I put in the packet an update, and I noticed Commissioner Johnson is here too as well. We're really excited, to be, working with the county and them working with us to allocate some money, of existing ARPA funding that they still have available. And so they have allocated $500,000 to us, that we will match with our other funds, to put in infrastructure for housing. We're really excited to do this, and that is also, like we've discussed before, why we're moving forward with that South End project, and we'll be out there surveying and doing all sorts of stuff. So I put that in the packet, to show you that, and then also just the draft, the agreement we have right now, we're still working on it at the staff level, but I anticipate that will be finalized soon, and then we can have the council vote on that final version. But very thankful and very excited about the opportunity. So make sure you do thank our commissioners for working with us and supporting those initiatives, because it really helps a lot in the environment that we're currently in, and really excited to see projects move forward with it.
Yeah, it'll help a lot, so thank you.
So with that said, there probably will not be, if it's surveyed, it's not gonna get farmed this year.
We still have to be determined. They, with the weather, will get out there sooner than later, but I don't know how we'll get wetland and everything done to construct this year. That's gonna be a tough timeline, cause we have to go through a bunch of processes. We're still working on that timeline, but we will farm it if we can, And if not, we will have to pull back on that contract.
Okay.
Cause we don't wanna have it sit there idle either, that's not good, as well. But any questions on that?
Just a comment, Commissioner Johnson, the spirit of cooperation is alive and well. I thank you.
I do have a question. Where the heck are we with senior housing? I've not heard a word about senior apartment housing. And it's in desperate need in this town.
So part of the concept, if you remember that we showed was it last month or the month before? We've showed it a couple times.
Yep.
We do have some townhomes potential in that development for those, which we think could possibly utilize senior housing. There's also another project that's still active that I'm working on in town that would include apartments. I just can't disclose all the details at this time.
Okay, well,
So-
I know citizens would be just happy to hear it's on the board,
Mhm.
because they're getting very frustrated.
Okay, anything else? All right. I just wanna loop back to the Tri-County Humane Society contract. So I just had, mentioned how, we are in this contract, they will no longer allow the requirement of a participation fee to be paid by the resident. So, the cost of that contract is higher, now. We're, I think, we're over budget with the first month, but I think they bill us quarterly. What I anticipate or projected, if it would keep going, we'd be a couple thousand over budget by the end of the year. What we're having trouble with is cats. That's kind of where the biggest issue is. Seems like these strays are dropped off, and people take them into the Humane Society, and unfortunately what happens is they end up having to be euthanized, and so then that $100 charge or whatever it is comes to the city to pay. I've tried to negotiate that fee with the Humane Society. They're not interested. They want the city to pay for it all. They don't want to deal with it. They said our other option is just to terminate the contract and have people come in on their own if they want to do it. So that's the question I have for you. How do you want to handle this?
Oh, we gotta put them somewhere, for one thing. But have we ever thought about trying to institute a spay-neuter? Because a lot of our cats are semi-feral, and there are communities doing spay-neuter programs where they get funding grants to neuter feral cats, which does drop the population.
I don't have any knowledge of that, yeah.
I'd be for terminating the contract with the Humane Society.
I would be too.
So we just let them run feral and,
No, there's people that would, if they find a cat, if it needs to be taken to, Tri-County or wherever, I think it's on the person.
well, you might be able to afford it, I know I can't.
Well, I can't afford it.
I mean, that's what we're looking at, we're looking at an awful big population of people that we're gonna end up with, that we think we have cats now. They make babies more than rabbits.
The public was having to pay prior, you said $20?
Yeah, 25.
25? So they'd
Or
show
was
up
it
with
20? Is it 20 or 20? Sorry.
so they'd
25,
show up with a
okay.
cat, pay $25, and the Tri-County would take it off their hands.
Yeah, and we would pay the balance.
And we'd pay the other,
Mhm.
sounds like $75?
It's like between 50, it went up now. It was
Okay.
like around $50 to $75.
So now if somebody wants to take a cat in, it'll be $100, about,
It
75 to
depends
100
if it
bucks.
gets adopted or not.
So if anything, they'll go there to drop it off and they'll say, what's it gonna cost you? And the person has the opportunity to say, okay, here's the money, or never mind and go back with the cat. If we're lucky, they leave it in St. Cloud.
Well, I'm glad you said it, cause that's what we were all thinking.
But I mean, I don't know if we should be paying for it.
That's my thoughts, cause
And
otherwise,
and that was kind of our compromise on it, is just to make the resident pay a small portion and then we pick up the rest. So then it would also just, resident may think about it before they, or try to find the owner if it is something that, we also have that instance where people take an animal and it belongs to somebody, and then it's getting hauled right back, and that's not, a good use of anyone's time.
And there's nothing that the veterinary clinic would do or participate in?
I don't think they take, you mean the local vet clinic?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
No.
they do that.
I don't think they do.
Oh, here, yeah, she's right here, that's right, she's
Oh.
here.
Let's have a discussion about whether or not you want to.
Technically, I'm not with the clinic anymore as of last summer,
Okay.
but, they never have taken in strays unless they're injured or injured really. And I don't know if they would be interested in doing any type of low-cost spay or neuter program. There are a few in the state already. The SNAP program is one, and I can't remember the name of the other. And I know I've had clients. I mean, I did mostly large animal, but so a few of my farm clients that would utilize that program because they wanted to take care of their barn cats a little bit. But also the farm people, they get the cats that are just
Right.
driven out and dropped off, and then they're hanging around their house and their cats.
Do we have stats on how many cats we dropped off last year?
I'd have to look it up, yeah, it's definitely uptick this year. Unfortunately, what happens too is sometimes we just are the dropping ground. People pull into town and kinda drop animals, that happens too every so often.
I feel like I always heard that the Malacca clinic would get, boxes of kittens left at their doorstep first thing in the morning when they come in. I don't feel like that happens to us at Foley very often. There's other rescues in the area, but I don't know what their surrender fee is. But there's rescues that are bringing animals in, mostly dogs from out of state. I don't think they have to bring in cats. That's not true, they do.
Can we raise the individual's fee to drop it off at or is that a set contract?
That's
They
what
won't
Tri-County
do
doesn't
anything,
want.
they
don't
won't have
wanna do that
anything
anymore.
to do with that anymore.
Oh, they don't want anything to do with it?
Nope, they want to collect no fee at all. They refuse to collect any fee anymore. Yeah. So we used to just offset, like, hey, if you wanna take the animal and we'll pay the majority, you pay a portion. They won't do that anymore. They have a new director and refuses to do that anymore.
Is the per animal surrender fee lower if it's a contract with the city versus if it just random person wants them to surrender?
I do not know. I can't answer that. I just know that that's what we had done to try to kinda offset the fees before.
Well, I would say we should get our ducks in a row here before we decide A or nay.
So what would you like me to check then on?
Surrender fee and,
For the public if we don't have a contract?
correct.
Okay.
And how many cats are we?
Cats and dogs, or is it all animals we're talking, or pretty much?
Cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs,
I don't know that I've ever had anything but a cat or dog.
no chickens. Sore subject.
Number of animals, okay. Okay, that works. Last thing.
Is the council good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last thing is I just wanted to let you know, we are going to transition. We have both Falcon and Franzen Bank as approved depositories. We have funds at both. We are transitioning our checking account to Falcon with our new software implementation. The reason we're doing that is there's a significant savings in fees for us to do that. So I just wanted to inform the council that we're making that change. Both are approved depositories, so you shouldn't need to officially act, but I want you to be aware of that. And then one more thing I wanted to add is I might have found a way to not have to do the single line audit this year for our city. I had held back on submitting some of the expenditures to the loan because we anticipated to wait to see how much we'd actually have to submit to the final loan for the wastewater project. And in doing so, we appear to be under the federal limit of $750,000. So I'm just waiting for the final go from the audit partner that's okay, but if that goes through, we'll probably save ourselves $5,000 to $8,000 in the audit expenses. So that's good. We will have it next year though, or in 2024 audit year, but we were able to rework some expenditures and the timing of them, so that will help significantly on our costs. Still have to do some of the reporting on our staff internally, but
the oddities are what really add up, so just wanna let you know that.
Does anyone have anything else for Sarah? All right, thank you. Mark, when is the compost gonna open? I forgot to ask you when you were.
Another good, see what the next warm up, no later than the end of the month is kind of when the other cities are doing it.
Okay,
See what this next cold swing does and,
you don't want it to get mucky out there and then it's just gonna be a mess.
yeah.
Sounds good?
Yep. But it definitely will be right at the first of the month. Just an FYI, I got today, and I met East Central out there for power for the gate, and I got the price from Ben Booms that'll be on next month's council packet. We had talked at budget time, but everything wasn't together, so.
Is there any advantage to wait until they would, I mean, is there power out there now or
No, they would
nearby?
Well, the three-phase goes right by,
Okay,
so they drop off the pole and have to run it over to the gate.
okay. I don't know if there was to wait, like, if we get this developed.
No, they'd come off that same line. That line goes all the way out to the well 5 and the feed mill.
Okay.
It's a three-phase.
Very good.
So.
All right. 9, old business, update discussion on Foley Fun Days parade route. I don't know how we wanna tackle this, so I'm looking for,
I'm sort of the instigator. After finding out the people who live in the nursing home cannot transport themselves to the funeral home. Now, I understand, I drove every road in Foley, every street to come up with an option. And all I can say is, we have to try harder. These people can't get there to watch the parade. 80 of them approximately last year were sitting out on the curb watching the parade and having as great a time as anybody else. Now, can we park them down by the Genio plant to make the tree streets open for bus parking? I don't know. I know Juanita works hard on it, but I also know these people have to exist, and we owe them at least a little bit of fun in their dang life. We need to do something for them. And that's my point, is that something's got to be done. I want them to be able to enjoy one parade once a year. And we can do it if we put our heads together somehow. I mean, it'd be perfect if the gardens had a bus with a lift and they could transport, but they don't. That costs money. So they're stuck there. If they don't have a family member, too bad.
Juanita, would you like to step up and just give me a quick 2 or 5 minute dissertation on which way the parade is going to run this year? Or is suggested to run? Perfect. Name and address, please.
All right, Juanita Beaucamp, 12773 65th Avenue Northeast, Rice, Minnesota, 56367. Sorry. Right. Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. Again, I'm Juanita Beaucamp. I'm the chairperson of the Foley Civic Group, and I have multiple duties within the committee, and one of them is the parade chair, something that I've done nearly half my life, or about 20 years. As the parade chair, I fill out permits, send out parade float applications, set up the lineup, communicate with MnDOT, Benton County Highway Department, the City of Foley, Foley Police Department, etc. Each year before the parade route is set, I am communicating with the multitude of people to check if there are any construction or obstacles that might change the path for the year. For the past couple of years, the path has changed, and as a temporary fix, the route has been updated. In 2022, there was much discussion on how the Foley Fun Days parade could still go on with the highway construction. Going through many scenarios, we came up with a solution. In 2022, parade buses, bands, there was something said that the buses would park down Birch, Elm, and Oak Drive. There were signs that were designated for the buses, but parade spectators for the parade did go and park in those areas, and we had band directors or the bus drivers mad because they had no place to park. So I was told, and I didn't go down there in 2022 at the end of the parade to see what was going on, but I was told it was very chaotic. So in 2023, last year, we did change things up a little bit and had parade floats go down Cedar Drive and then have Falcon National Bank as a possible place for the parade floats to take down their floats. And then also have the buses, the plan was to have the buses and the big rigs go Norman Avenue South. Well, I walked the whole parade route, and I was at the end of the parade, and I stayed there for until the end of the parade to see what was going on because of the chaoticness I was told of the year before. From what I've seen, the parade floats were supposed to be going down Cedar. I had seen cars go the opposite way or coming down Cedar right towards where the parade floats were supposed to be going. And then also there were cars or individuals that were going to their apartments across from the nursing home, coming off the highway and Norman and going right towards the parade. Also, when you look at everybody that's in the parade, you have bands, and there's almost 1,000 kids or 1,000 people that participate just in bands. And then you look at all the parade floats, you have kids, and you have a multitude of different age groups, but especially the kids. When you don't have a designated area for these kids, you're looking at trouble and possibly accidents or something bad happening. I know there has been discussion of having the parade floats line up over in the development area, over in by the Birch Oak or Lions Park area, and that was one discussion I did have with like Janelle, the band director in Foley, mostly with the bands, because other parade floats you can get on the road, but the bands, it's a big undertaking, and if you have, like I mentioned, almost 1,000 kids or individuals in that area, and they start arriving at 2-3 o'clock, usually at the high school to go practice, you're looking at all those kids and all those individuals within that residential area, and you're looking at people coming home from work and people in their way. And you're going to have screaming and hollering and probably garbage and all that stuff, and then you come up with it's a bigger problem. My main concern, so this year we are going back to the old route, the old original route. I know we've had to switch so many times just because of construction and different things going on within the city and on the highway. My main concern is always safety, and like I mentioned, you have young kids, and I don't want to see anything happen. That's on me if something happens to someone. Also, economically, also, if you go to different areas, especially, like we have had, or if you look at going to the development area, like I mentioned, you're looking at more police to be circulating the area, and then more facilities and stuff like that also. Talking to band directors, just the band directors mainly, because that's where a lot of the concern would be, is they don't mind going around the roundabout. They like starting. These are band directors that have been coming to our parade for multiple years and have seen the changes. And they do like starting at the school and ending at the school. And the bands, when they're done marching, they go to the school, they get a meal, or well, not a meal, some snacks, and then they also go down to the field house or the track, and then they do awards and stuff like that. The last 2 years, you've had buses follow the bands, and that does take away from the bands. Bands are judged, and I think that diminishes them, when you have to have a bus follow them. You go to other parades, the buses are not following them. You go to other parades, you don't even have hardly any bands that are in them parades. And so we're pretty lucky to be able to have bands that want to come to our parade and then also be on a waiting list. So that, I guess that's all.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go with Juanita's recommendation to follow the old parade route because logistically they can set up more rides uptown too. Talking with some other individuals where before or last 2 years they've had to keep those streets open for construction and moving people around or moving vehicles around. So that would be my recommendation, is what Juanita is proposing.
I mean, I'm all for continuing to investigate alternative options. You know, obviously we have the parade now in 3 months, so I don't know what we can do to adjust on the fly, getting closer to the event. But I don't think it hurts to continue to be creative or think outside the box as we continue down this path, trying to find alternative ways to include others, senior living in our communities, to be able to watch the parade.
Well, I believe there's a simple answer to this, and that's volunteer. The conversation I had with you, Pamela, is you're looking for volunteers. Well, there's nothing bigger than a heart of a volunteer. I'll throw my hat in. You need help, I'll help. I think it's up to all of us to volunteer to help these people to get to see the parade instead of changing the parade route that has been working for plenty of years. I've talked to past people that have run the parade. Juanita, thank you very much for all you do. It works. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. But on another point, I don't think the council should be dealing with this to begin with. I think this should be done with people that are involved with the civic group and the people that have an issue with it.
But
we open up our streets for the civic group to run the parade. The civic group is the one that's pretty much in charge of this. I think we have other issues.
Our citizens have a right to be heard by us.
Absolutely.
And they are citizens. You're not thinking about porta potties. Have you ever pushed a wheelchair from the nursing home to the funeral home?
I've pushed plenty of wheelchairs.
How far? On what type of surface?
The VA.
That's an on.
The heart of a volunteer, though, what we need is volunteers.
Why don't I talk about it a second? I'll come, because you don't need just volunteers. You also need nurses, CNAs, because you can't toilet anybody. You can't give medications to anybody. You can't make sure their blood sugar is okay. And if somebody has a fall, you can't help them up. So you're not just looking at, hey, let me take a volunteer and take somebody to the parade on a route that is not suitable for handicapped accessible people. Okay, I got a complaint from Diane Thorsten today asking me to bring this to the city council today in regards to the sidewalk right outside the nursing home, which is a city sidewalk that is not suitable for wheelchairs or walkers. So right there we have another issue. Some of our sidewalks are not good for our handicapped accessible people. So you yourself, Jeff, are not able to take a resident to the funeral home. You'd have to have many nurses to go with. If we had 80 people go, we'd have to have 6 to 10 nurses go with us. And we'd have to have just as many CNAs. With staffing the way it is right now, you're not going to get that many people to volunteer. We're not going to be able to add that much staff. But if we're at our own building, we have the ability to bring them back into our restrooms and use our restrooms and use our lifts, because not everybody's in a wheelchair that we can just transfer them. We have to use lifts. We have to have multiple people lift them. It doesn't just take one staff, it takes two. So looking at it as, oh, we can just get volunteers. Yeah, volunteers are great. And we love volunteers. We love when they come in to help us. It's not just to take them for a walk. It's not just to take them to the parade. We'll have them anytime. But to make sure that the residents can see the parade, I'm sure there's a way, if things are set up properly, I'm willing to help. I'll help. I've come to the meeting and I will help. I emailed her yesterday to see if there was what I could do to help with the parade. I have no problem. We have an open area down our road that is the park. We could park buses there so that they could go right from Pine Street to whatever, or in front of Pine Street and turn. And we could ask the turkey hatchery if we could park the buses there this year. Is it a something that might be able to do every year? No, but maybe there's another option that we look at next year. I mean, I get that it's easy to just say no and it's not our job to worry about it, but these are our citizens and we are having a parade in our community. We're not having a parade in St. Cloud, we're having it here right in Foley. So thinking about that it's not our job and shouldn't be our business. Yes, one of you guys or two of you guys or three of you guys or all of us should be on the civics group helping plan this. It's not just the civics group's responsibility, it's the city of Foley. We're having it in the city of Foley. So that was the one thing I wanted to bring up. Second thing is the sidewalks. It's not all the sidewalks, but that one in front of the nursing home is not great. So it's on the Norman Avenue. And that's, Diane's trying to get from the assisted living to her apartment, and that sidewalk's not good. So that's another issue. And a lot of our residents use that in our assisted living and in our independent living. They use that sidewalk. So there's another issue.
Thank you. Well, I think the council has gave their advice or their feelings on this, and it's just gonna have to go back to the civic group to remedy or go forward with their choices. Like Brandon said, maybe there's an alternative we can look at. We don't have to kill it tonight or the next day, but that'd be my recommendation. New business. Adopt resolution 2024.07 approving art grant application. Brandon, I guess you're gonna lead us on this.
Yeah, this was a last minute ad after our meeting today. So tomorrow I'll be submitting for the Central Minnesota Arts Board grant to request funding to go towards the welcome signs. The grant can only be at maximum 75% of the project. The project right now, as it sits today, is $42,700. 75% being approximately 31,000 and change. So to submit the application, we need to have 25% coming from somewhere else. As we know, we budgeted 35,000 as a line item for welcome signs to make sure that we're in line with what's needed coming from another area, which would be the 25%. This is to ask for adopting the resolution to allow for us to commit to 25% of the total project. It could fluctuate up or down slightly. We are waiting on one final engineering quote, but we have a pretty good estimate of what that would look like. So approximately $11,000 is what we're at right now for the ask. That doesn't include, you know, ongoing maintenance in the future, things of that nature. This is just the initial construction and installation of the signs.
And we've secured where they're going.
Yes. Yep. Yep. The application is ready to be reviewed by Central Minnesota Arts Board tomorrow, pending this adoption of resolution that we're committed to 25% of the total project.
So we're looking for a motion on this?
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
So there's a motion been made and second to adopt resolution 2024-07. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all for say aye.
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 Against? Motion carried. Are we just going down the line on you here? Discussion on council workshop sessions?
Oh, this is just all mine, huh? Okay, well, so
Says
discussion.
Brandon.
Yep. Discussion on adding council workshop sessions. So, you know, it's been a year now since I've been on council. I'm trying to think of ways creatively for us to be together, you know, ideally all in the same time, same meeting, to not add extra meetings. But besides that, and planning for that, just getting together, talking about some of these issues beforehand as an open meeting, right? It has to be open meeting, we understand that, but to be able to actually talk and understand where each other are coming from, open up these issues, really dig into some of these things, ask the questions that we'd want to ask, as opposed to being here at you know, in the actual council meeting itself and moving through or awkwardly trying to figure out how to work through the motion in front of us. And not to mention also the priorities of the city as we look to continue to build on what we're trying to do with the city with regards to budget, you know, economic development, housing, being able to also then take that time to discuss those relevant priorities as they need to fit into or throughout the year. So
I would be in favor of that option.
The one thought would be to meet prior to the meeting versus trying to add another meeting. I've reached out to a handful of cities and spoke with a few folks on how they do things. Majority of them actually just have their second meeting of the month being a working session. You know, in honor of our time and trying not to add expense to the budget. One thought would be, can we meet up to an hour prior to our actual council meeting, have a working session, and then go right from there to our 5:30 council meeting? That was one thought that I had as far as combining them and being able to make best use of our time while we're here.
Would that workshop, would we get paid for having that workshop before the meeting? That's my question.
Technically, the code states per meeting.
So a
It says
workshop
council
before
meeting.
a
Well,
meeting.
it's a quorum of the council, so you would have to, I think we'd probably have to clarify that language, that we only are charging one meeting. I mean, when we have meetings, like short ones before even committees, we don't usually charge, but that would be something, technically it just says per meeting. So if you start a meeting and end a meeting, you know, what do you determine the meeting? We might have to clarify. We don't have workshop defined differently.
Sure. My original thought was we'd be able to not have to charge for the meeting, but if that's how it is in the code, that's how it's written, I guess. But
Well, I'm not for charging an extra fee for a meeting, that's for sure. I think a lot of this can be done through emails and phone calls. We have an open line of communication, we have emails.
But it hasn't been done.
Well, why hasn't it?
That's what I wonder.
Well, why do we have to have a workshop where we have to charge the people for a workshop then? Well, I have a question, I call, I get my answers.
Yep, well, I guess you feel welcome
Welcome for what?
to calling, to talking, to interfacing. I can tell you, I have never lived in a town that made me feel less an outsider.
That's your opinion.
Yes, it is my opinion, but it certainly affects the council.
Yep, so this was two parts. One, going through some of the packet stuff, which certainly, yes, can be taken care of through communication, email, such. The other part was actual priority planning, having further discussions about other topics, you know, for example, the facade improvement program, additional discussions about housing, industrial development, you know, having deeper conversations about, you know, other ordinances that we've had come across or that we've heard from constituents, So it would provide a time for us to have more open conversation or open dialogue about more than just what's coming in the council packet. So kind of, again, trying to kill two birds with one stone is the original thought for me.
I think it would just have to be on a month-by-month basis as to what is in the packet and what needs to be talked about before we come to council.
I mean, and I suppose we could certainly do that during the council meeting. It would just make for a longer, more involved council meeting. I guess that could be solved that way as well, but yeah.
No, I'm saying if there's an additional meeting required, if we're looking at putting sewer in, or I don't know, whatever, something that's more nuts and bolts is gonna take some looking at before we get to it here. That's my recommendation there too, is
right.
If we need it, we should have another meeting and hash it out. Go ahead, Sarah.
What if we, at the end of the agenda, just put a standing line item that says, workshop schedule, and we determine, do we need the second meeting of the month, or do we need to get a workshop session scheduled based on some of the items that are coming through? You know, so maybe it doesn't have to happen every month, but maybe we just have to have the second meeting of the month, 3-4 times, whatever, a year, and have those discussions. Maybe it's an alternative way to do this, because I do think there is value in having sometimes those discussions on maybe those higher level or complicated things, but we could just put a standing line item, and then we could decide at that first meeting if a discussion is needed next session. Based on, we probably would have an inkling what's coming down or through, and then maybe as staff works through it, we can recognize if somebody requests a certain kind of item that's not pressing, we just say we will get that scheduled for workshop session when the council has their next meeting.
Mm-hmm. I'm up for any thoughts or suggestions, just for me to be able to think about how we can grow organically within our council and just have open dialogue and continue to have conversations above and beyond just what's in front of us at council meeting is more so my drive behind the working session meetings. But yeah, to your point, maybe it's something we talk about at the end of the council meetings. Is there anything pressing or anything that we need to discuss in more detail or sooner than a month from the current meeting?
And I think it's also important to the other department heads to making sure if you want them in attendance or not, we got to make sure that it's going to work in their schedule, because they have other commitments too as well. And maybe it's something that we're going to talk about this. You don't need this person, but we need this staff member. You might be able to schedule that as needed, and it's not just another standard meeting that maybe we don't have anything on the agenda, so we don't incur the cost.
Right.
But at the same thing, we're going the water, here's an example, the water treatment with Jared on Thursday. Not everyone's going to be able to attend that meeting or tour, so it'd be nice probably in a couple of weeks to sit down and say, this is what we saw. Same thing when you guys were looking at the county building.
Sure.
So those are some bigger ticket items that probably should be discussed as a council before we get to then we can say what we want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's work on that for next meeting, April meeting. Is there any other new business to come before the council?
So, speaking of a possible conversation then beyond maybe a regular council meeting, would be the discussion on the downtown facade program. Do you want to touch base on on what you've kind of had from inquiries?
Yeah, so I just included a sample program. If you recall, we had this requested of us prior. It didn't make it in the budget, but we've had some activity in the downtown and some building rehabs, and so we have a few interested owners if there would be some type of facade improvement, even a small program that would offer them some incentive to like redo the front of their building or put an awning on, those type of things. And so I was wondering if we could just schedule a discussion of the council to see what that would look like, maybe some potential funding options. to see if we can't do something, for this downtown. It's exciting to see what we have going on, and I think if it warrants at least a discussion, you know, on what our options are. So that may be something to try to schedule a workshop, and I don't know, would we need more than a half hour, you think?
No, you know, but it is good to see, like you said, the action that's happening downtown. It was great to see the amount of traffic downtown this past Saturday. You know, so it's really about what can we do to continue to redevelop our downtown, beautify it, right, bring it back to its glory days. There are many downtowns that have similar programs. This one's definitely less than that of the last that was brought forward. This is strictly beautification, you know, awnings, you know, windows, doors, flower pots, etc., painting, and it's drawn up right now as an example, a $5,000 grant, $5,000 matching grant. So up to $5,000, you know, they match dollar for dollar. And again, just an example. During these conversations we have about this, you know, we could lower that. We could go to $3,000. I mean, it could be a 25-75 grant. You know, so there's options, but it's something that's being done in a lot of downtowns.
And I think with this type of thing, we'd like to keep it pretty simple, and then kind of see what happens. We can gauge the success if we are able to fund a small program, and then maybe we look into something a little more impactful. So I guess that would be a question if you want to schedule a separate, you know, session on that, or prior to the next meeting, whatever you think.
I mean, it's something we could also, if we're going to have a discussion about the water facility tours, I mean, if we're going to have a separate meeting for that or an additional meeting, we could kind of pile those things into that one time, and again, make best use of paying for another meeting.
So you're looking at the 19th or the 26th, if we do this?
Of April?
No, March.
The 19th we could not do because we have a joint planning board meeting that day. And we'd have to check with our other staff if you want to talk about the water plans. Or, let's see here. The only thing I would encourage, if we couldn't keep them on like the first and third Tuesdays, those as a staff are more, you know, open, because that's when council meetings normally fall. But I could make probably any of those work. I don't know what the rest of them.
Wait for April when you got all the tours done.
That's when you said those dates, I was
You're
thinking
comfortable at April then?
I mean,
Yes.
might as well get it all done at one time.
Okay.
Is it April 16th or the 11th is what we're going?
We're doing the 11th, so you had them both done.
So the 11th or the 16th, yeah, but
Oh.
if you're gonna schedule a.
Oh,
If you're going on the 16th, you might not want to have a meeting when you fly in here at 9 o'clock at night.
I might have them backwards. 11th might be our primary one. I thought the Thursday one.
Well, let's do some talking to Wisconsin people and figure out, and then we'll go for that for this.
If we don't go on the
Schedule.
16th, would a meeting work? Mark, if we wouldn't go on the 16th, would a
Yeah,
meeting work
yeah.
that night to talk about it?
I thought when Adam and I talked, we were talking 11th we preferred, and I
Okay.
just gave him backwards here.
Okay. Well, and then maybe I'll just send an email out to the council, and we'll try to firm a date up for a workshop.
Sounds good.
Okay. Or the other, I mean, you could schedule workshop, you know, if you wanna make a long meeting, you could schedule it after, too. You know, the council meeting, you could close the council meeting, be done. It's still public, but then, you know, you go to workshop items, only no action. That would be another thought if we need to. You know, only non-action items, just discussion.
Okay.
So like with regards to like the April 2nd meeting, are you talking about?
Yeah, like that would be another option if you wanted to schedule. Workshop just follows immediately after the council meeting's adjourned, but there are no actions taken at workshop.
Any other new business to come before the council? Second open forum. Would anyone like to speak? Please come up to the podium. Seeing none, Mark has a question.
Me again. Hey, real quick, the comment got made, just so you know, you guys put money away every year for the trails, and we are pretty aggressive trying to. This year, the stretch is from, Oak Drive, starting there, making that an ADA compliant ramp. I already met with JR Concrete on that. We gotta hack a tree there in that first yard. I met with them on that. Gerhardson has humongous holes where we cross there. I met with that, so that is on the list to be done. I do need to meet with Gardens of Foley to try to get them to do their driveway, and I feel I have an in now with that. So please ask your bosses to support me when I come and meet with them. Then we'd go all the way to the fire hall on that section. So please continue to budget that money when we do it, cause it's well used, and that is, like I say, we're gonna have to cut all those tree roots on those maples, or picking it if you guys walk that. So, just wanna give you, that is gonna happen this year, is my hope.
Very good. Anyone else for open forum? Yeah, and if not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All for say aye.
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 Against? Meeting adjourned.
We had one Sunday, almost, if it had been more, remember the, wait for the tape to go off, wait for the tape to go off.